Well, welcome back to the Go Racing Sim League official podcast, episode number 9. I am Kevin Rupert, along with Ken Bulldog Schultz. Say hello, Ken.
Hey, Kevin, how you doing? Hey, went shopping today, saw a duck walk into the store, and he bought some chapsticks because it's so cold around here.
I believe that.
Yeah, he told the checkout person to put it on his bill.
So are we Googling these now, Ken, or are you coming up with them on your own?
I seen this one a couple days ago, and I had a chuckle for about 10 minutes on it, so I figured this one's worthy.
All right. Dad joke number 2 from Ken. Thanks. Thank you, Ken. Okay. Wow. What a week we've had. The race last night, I mean, it seems like every week we keep coming back saying, man, that was a race. But last night's race, that was something, wasn't it, Ken?
Wow. Great car count. The racing was awesome. Just plain awesome all the way through the pack, but especially the top 3. Man, they just put on a show last night like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, and that was our second endurance race that we had, right? So it was an extra 20 minutes. I'm going to be honest with you, it didn't feel like it was longer to me. I don't know if it's because we do the 24 hours at that track, or if it's just because there was so much racing going on that you didn't have a chance to relax.
It's Daytona. We're comfortable with the track. A lot of us are very comfortable with the track, so it's not really work. It's something you just kind of get into the rhythm and you just go with it.
Yep. Nope. I would agree. It did feel comfortable. I wouldn't deny that at all. I almost felt like I was at home. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So a couple of things I want to start off talking about. First of all, I want to welcome our new drivers that joined our race this week. We had several new drivers that joined. Richie Coy, which we know from a previous league. John Timms joined us, as well as the winner of the race, actually, Christian Correa. Did I say it right, Ken?
Correa, yep.
All right. So welcome to the league. We enjoyed it. That helped build up the car count. I think we had a really good number of cars in the race this week.
18 cars. That's the best we've had so far. But, hey, we can build a couple more on it. But it was a nice group of cars for that track.
Yep. I always said, my goal is an average of 20, right? I think in this series on the road course racing, 20 cars every track, I think that's a good number. I mean, I'll take more, but the more you add, the more situations you have to take care of.
More problems you could run into, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of running into problems, I want to address the recent conversations that are going on Discord talking about the incidents and the incident limits. As a league, we have an incident limit of 16X for every race. And just to make sure everybody's aware, the X's generally depend on what type of incident. If you just get your tires off into the grass, that's usually a 1X. If you're by yourself and you rub the wall, that a lot of times is a 2X. But if you and somebody else get together, that's almost always a 4X. And 4X is the most you can get in a single incident. So why did we have the limit? Well, I was reading a lot of the comments. And by the way, I actually appreciate people sharing their opinions because, I'm building this league not for me. Actually, I'm wanting to build it so everybody has a good time and has fun. I actually, honestly, have thought about not even racing in it and just focusing on running the league to give everybody a good place to go run and have fun. So why did I have the incident limits? It actually has nothing to do with forcing people to have a clean race. And I know that's kind of what people are thinking. Reading the chat, I can see everybody's like, yeah, I had to take it easy. I was at this and, I had 12X, I had this and I had to be real careful. That's actually not my reasoning. I did not include them to make people race safer or, I think as Chris said, gentleman drivers. My whole purpose for the incidents was to keep people from cheating on the road courses. There are certain tracks that, and one of them that we raced not long ago, Circuit of the America, COTA, there are many of the turns that you can drive sort of out of the turn and it benefits you in terms of keeping your speed up. Another one that we're going to be going to soon, Silverstone, is very similar to that. There are areas where if they don't sort of force you to stay within bounds, you can take advantage of the runoff areas. And that's actually the main reason I've added those, right? It was for that reason. For the most part, that was the only reason. Now, it is good that it does also keep people a little conscious about how they drive. But honestly, that's the reason I put it there. And Ken, if you remember early on, you and I were discussing, like, what are the incidents number? What number should we shoot for? Do you remember that?
Yeah, we talked about it, and we were going to go lower, and then we decided to step up to 16.
Yeah, and I
And
remember conversations. We were like, well, let's look at it the first couple of races. And
yeah,
honestly, in the first 2 to 3 races, I don't think anybody got even close to the incident limit. So we were like, okay, so that's a good number. Because again, the goal isn't to have some people get kicked out because they hit a limit. That really isn't the goal. And I didn't want that happening. But it didn't look like people were getting close. So I thought, okay, so 16 is probably good. As we've seen in a couple of races here recently, that number can creep up on you. So yeah, I mean, definitely interested in reviewing it before we start our next season. And I'm not going to change it this season. I'm not a big fan of changing things in the middle of a season. You kind of make the rules, you run them. Unlike NASCAR, who likes to change things a lot, I don't like to do that. But we can definitely look at it. Maybe we bump it up a little bit. Maybe we bump it up on the longer races, or maybe we do it track by track. I guess I'm open to suggestions. But I just want everybody to understand is my purpose of that was actually not to force people to race cleanly and be afraid to stick it in there when they have an opportunity. What are your thoughts, Ken?
well, we could do similar to what they do in official racing. Also, is when you get to a certain limit, you are doing a pass through or stop in the pits for so long for that incident over a certain amount. They do have that in the official. Maybe we can set that up in our league. I definitely can see bumping it up for the 80-minute races. I get it, but I think we need to do that just to keep everyone honest and making track limits a thing. It's important.
Agreed. They're kind of invisible limits in a way, right? Like,
Yeah, exactly. But hey guys, just let us know what you think. We'd love the discussion, like Kevin said in Discord. A lot of great points, but I feel we need something out there to keep everyone a little bit honest out there.
well, and to be honest with you, Ken, that was the purpose of the bonus points for the clean driver, right? That
Right.
was sort of the carrot, like race cleanly and you can get some bonus points. I wasn't really trying to provide a stick at the end of the day where if you do bad, I'm going to beat you with it, right? There's a little bit different reasoning there. But so I'm definitely open to maybe increasing that. Again, even with what you said, Ken, you're still including a little bit of a punishment there, right? I mean,
Right.
which by the way, if you get to a certain level, you probably deserve some punishment. I mean, I'll say right now, there were some people last night, they deserved the punishment they got with their exes. Just to be
Yeah,
perfectly honest with you.
sometimes they just plain overdrove it, and that's on the driver.
Right.
Yeah,
But they,
maybe it wasn't 100% your fault. Maybe it was the guy next to you that overdrove it and got into you, and you got a 4X out of it. But that's part of racing. It's going to happen.
right. But see, on the negative side, what you don't want to happen is like I'm just going to use Michael Fredrickson for example, because I saw almost every one of his incidents because I was right there with him almost all night. I don't think there was a single one of them that he had anything to do with. He was a victim multiple times, but I'm pretty sure there at the end of the race, he was running around trying to make sure he didn't get any more. Oh, absolutely. I'm looking at now. He had 14. I don't think maybe 2 of them might have been him sticking a wheel off. I'm not even sure if that's the case. So
Right.
that's the bad side of it, right?
Yep.
This one person
Yep.
who's been driving clean, doing their job, and somebody else messes with them. So we'll definitely look at that. Open to suggestions, like I said, but I want everybody to understand the purpose of that actually wasn't to punish people; it was to keep people honest, and it wasn't to make people race clean or to be afraid to be cautiously aggressive. I guess is the
Maybe
term I
we
like.
maybe we just back off the bonus points on that a little bit and bring it down
Well,
so it's not quite as critical.
That's another thought I've had too, as well as because then the only negative to the bonus points is then I get pissed when somebody hits me and takes my bonus points away, right?
Yep. Yep.
So maybe we make them not mean as much to people, right? So yeah, definitely we'll look at this stuff again. So before we start our next season, we'll take all of your suggestions into mind and we'll roll something out. Again, this is a league for the drivers. It honestly is. It's not for me and what makes me happy in terms of a driver. I want everybody to have a good time. I want good, clean, hard racing, right? And if you don't think good, clean, hard racing can happen, those words don't go together, Go watch our top three this whole last race if you've got the recording, because they raced hard and clean the entire race.
That's right.
Okay, last thing I have on before we get into the race recap would be our new challenge. So we have an anonymous person offering up to put some more money into the league for what they're calling the pit stop challenge, and that kicked in officially last race or this week. And to qualify for it, you had to have at least raced with the league one time. So all the new people didn't qualify this week. But we do have that. And when we get through with the race recap, I will tell you who the winner is. But each week, the winner's getting $10 in iRacing credit. So, and again, the way that works is it's from, as you said, what was it, the green cone to the yellow cone, or yellow cone to the green cone?
Be yellow cone to green cone.
Yep. So it's not just how long you're actually in the pit stall, but how quick you get there and
through
out.
Pit road.
Right. And I can tell you one thing. There's not a single driver last night that took less fuel as an attempt to win this award, because you needed every bit of fuel you could get that last round.
Every drop was needed last night.
Without a doubt. All right. Anything else to add, Kim, before we go into the race recap?
Nope. It was a great race. I appreciate everyone coming out and joining us. It was a great time.
Yeah, I forgot how fun that track is. I mean, it's so different because, you have the inside, which is basically a road course, and then next thing you know, you're on the Daytona Oval. So, so you're basically like a NASCAR going around there. And so it brought in, and I talked about this, but I didn't realize it was going to be as much as it was. It brought in the draft, right? And the draft played a very huge role during this race. If you look,
did. It made a difference in the top three for sure. Lap after lap after lap, and it trickled down midway through the field.
Yeah, and the one thing that I noticed, and by the way, as a league, I do not want to build up a league where we do nothing. We're every race reviewing and giving people penalties. As a matter of fact, if you look, there's not like a list of penalties on our website or anything like that. I've always said, if there's somebody that's just doesn't belong, I will remove them, right? It's not, I'm going to sit here and, nickel and dime everybody with penalties for doing mistakes. Right? That's not how I work, and that's not how I want this league to work. But, I will also say on these podcasts, we're going to speak our opinions, and if we see people do things that we think maybe we should address, we're going to address it. And the one thing I noticed the most in this race was the draft, and the fact that a lot of the issues that I saw on the track happened because people were using the draft mainly going past the start-finish line and then tucking their nose underneath going into turn one where it really didn't belong. Did you notice that, Ken?
I'll be honest with you, after lap 9 or so, I didn't, because I wasn't even with the group of vehicles no more, but early on, yeah, you had to be careful. I was always being passed on the outside, which I thought was a lot more comfortable for me. No one tried to come underneath me on the left side, so well, I didn't notice it, but watching the review, yes, it was very noticeable during the review of it.
Yeah, well, in all honesty, what you wanted to do if somebody had a draft on you is you wanted to force them on the outside, right? Because that was the slower way around those turns right in there. So that's obviously what you wanted to do. I think what stuck out to me, what I've noticed is, or maybe it's important to realize that just because when you're in the draft and you're faster in the draft, it doesn't really mean you're faster than the car in front of you. Speaking for myself, I know I was behind Michael Fredrickson a lot on the racetrack, and when we get to the infield, the technical part of the track, he was always faster than I was. But there were, a handful of laps where he would pull away a little bit in the infield, but once I could get back to him on the draft, I would pull back up to him, and I'd be right on his bumper going into turn one, and then he'd pull away a little bit. So, it wasn't that I was faster than him on the straightaways. I just had his draft, right? And so what that means is just because you got the draft doesn't mean you necessarily have the right to stick your nose under somebody going into the turn. Just remember, the car in front of you has the right of the turn. They own it. And if you're going to stick your nose under them, you better do it cleanly. And again, if you want to know what I'm talking about, go watch the top three. Because if you look at Michael Blackner and Shane specifically it seemed like the entire race, Michael Blackner would get up along Shane on the outside, like you said, Ken, and just on the straightaway, but they would always go in side by side in turn one, and they would always come out clean. They never touched.
Yep.
They never even got close to touching. So that was the one thing. If I want to point out a negative, I saw that a lot during the replay. Going back and watching, saw several people, couple specific people do that more than they probably should.
That's right.
Now,
And it's about racecraft, and that's what this league is about. We want to promote great racecraft, not just for our league, but if you take your car and go into an official, you'll be a better driver for it.
Yeah, or you'll at least you won't make as many enemies.
That's true.
I don't know if you. I would almost argue against that, Ken, because if you learn good racecraft and you go into officials, you're going to get eaten alive because half the people there they don't practice good racecraft, and they'll run you off the track.
Well, if there's yes and no on that, you can gain a lot of stuff by using good racecraft in an official too, because you wait for the other guys to kill themselves, and then
Right.
you just kind of sit there and wait it out a little bit. Patience is a good thing sometimes.
Yep, there was a lot of action on this track, a lot of great racing, and then a lot of people had some issues. I know. I mean, as a matter of fact, like on the very first lap, Bill Fedorka coming out turn 3, I think he just got I think he hit the grass just a little bit with his rights, and it caused him to get loose, and he actually sort of had to cut the whole international horseshoe. I think he got.
Yeah, he ran about 15/16 of the lap there. He cut her a little bit short, so.
Yeah, I mean, it penalized him for it. He didn't do it on purpose. It was
Nope, it just happened.
As a matter of fact, he did the right thing, right? He didn't cut it back up in front of everybody else. He sort of got his way out cleanly. And I think he got like a 2-second penalty at some point for that.
Yep.
And I know Bliss had made about 4 laps in, and he had an incident going into the bus stop there, and had lucky it was a virtual race, because that was a heck of a hit he had going through the bus stop.
Mm-hmm.
I know, like on lap 7, we had multiple incidents in the bus stop. That was also a very tricky area, right? It's very fast, right? I think Doug lost it maybe by himself. I can't remember, going in, and then directly behind him, having nothing to do with Doug losing it. I noticed, I think Brandon and Michael Fredrickson went in side by side. Brandon got by, but then got loose and wrecked. And then I think Michael hit him a little bit. But there was a big pile up there. I think I gained like 5 or 6 positions.
You got handed to a lot of drivers. That could have been a really messy situation right there. It really wasn't. It didn't turn out as bad as what it could have.
No, I completely agree with you. And then the bad one, Ken. I hate to talk about this one, but lap 9. Do you want to tell everybody what happened on lap 9?
The student driver needs a little bit more lessons. Just went into the international corner just a little too hot. She came around. I somehow got to keep it in the middle of the racetrack, hoping that people had a lane on each side, and I collected Richie Coy. Richie had nowhere to go. Everyone else did a great job getting around, but I felt just so bad. Richie's first race with us, and then I pull a bonehead move, get into the corner a little too hot, and lose it right in front of him.
Yeah, and if you watch on the replay or the video that we put together that the media team built, you'll notice that if you watch from his in-car, he had nothing. He had nowhere to go. Right, he came through
Nowhere
that
to
turn.
go.
There was no way of seeing where you were until he made it around that first apex, and then there you were.
Yeah, there was a car between me and him, and he probably didn't have great vision of me at all, and boom, the student driver was right there.
Yep. And then let's see, the lap 13, I noticed going into turn 1, Felix got on the inside and got into Michael, bumped him off the track a little bit. Happened to me as well. Felix and I got into it in the same turn. Some other lap, I didn't write that one down. But in terms of, there was also some good stuff. Like Shane led a lot of the race, right? Did he lead
early in the race? Early in the race, he was the premier car out there. Yes,
he led the most. He got the bonus for that. He led 21 laps. But he and Blackner were racing side by side forever. And then I think it might have been the pit stops where they kind of got rearranged a little bit. But at a certain point, I think it was like 23. Yeah, Christian actually passed Shane. And I was like, oh, there it is. But then actually Shane on lap 27 passed him back. He got 9. And then
Shane was struggling with the bus stop in the back.
Yep, but then there was I think Christian got loose going into the bus stop a few laps later, and that allowed Blackner to get back up through there and get by him. And he had such a good run through that bus stop, he almost passed both Christian and Shane.
Yep.
Shane kind of pinned him down low. If you watch he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't. As a matter of fact, I've done the same thing, but he didn't give him room to really come back up. So he had to sort of back off to come up. So, but that was
and that showed great patience by Michael, not forcing the fact and creating a big problem between those guys.
Yeah, they have the when you come out of the bus stop after a while, there's 3 cones down there on the flat. I'm assuming if you run through them, it's a penalty. I've never done it. Have you?
Can't say I have, so I would think that is a penalty on that track.
It's got to be there for a reason, right? And
That's right.
I doubt it's just a visual thing. I'm sure iRacing would probably penalize you if you did that. So, and let's talk about that ending. What an ending, Ken.
Ending was awesome. Drafting was a maximum there, and Christian winning it by only 4/1000ths of a second. That you can't hardly tell that when you're watching that thing in slow motion replay.
Yeah, and I didn't realize it was that close until I went back and rewatched, right? Like, we were all still racing, and I don't know that anybody verbally said, like, wow, what a close ending or anything. Maybe they did and I didn't hear it. But, yeah, that was amazing. Speaking of that, how about we go ahead and drop down and let's go to the media center and let you do your interviews, Ken?
All right, let's do it.
All right, here's Ken with the interviews.
All right. Hey, thanks. And welcome to the Media Center here after today's race at the Daytona Speedway. Great race tonight. Our podium finishers with the win tonight: Christian Correa, second place, Michael Blackner, and third, Shane Papawa. First time winner tonight, first time racing with us tonight. Christian, congratulations on a great run. Can you talk about your evening tonight?
Yeah, first of all, thank you all. There was a very, very good battle. The race was, I was sweating already on the qualifying. I was pretty nervous because this is my first time here, the first time in a racing league. And yeah, there was a lot of fun, a lot of battles. Clean race, very, very clean race, and yeah, the car felt like like a truck because it's a very long time that I don't drive Porsche, and the feeling was kind of weird because this week I was training with the M4 and the Mercedes, but I kind of changed to the Porsche because I'm a Porsche boy, and
Sure.
yeah, like congratulations to the other 2 guys that I don't know the name. Sorry, I'm new here, and yeah, that's it.
All right, Michael Blackner, great run. Christian beat you up a 4/1000ths of a second at the end of the race. Can you describe your evening tonight?
It was pretty eventful there, Ken. Early on, Shane got around me. I figured I was just gonna try and use him as bait to get draft off him. Short shift. I had a feeling it was gonna come down to a fuel mileage race, which almost did. Watching Christian behind me and then eventually in front of me for most of the race, actually, I was watching what he was doing, how he was battling Shane. Very clean, very respectful. A little bit hard, but that's expected when you're racing for the lead. So I'm like, I'm going to wait until the end and try and do anything. And eventually, where the chips fell, I managed to get around both, and Christian just bested me at the end of the race.
And Shane, nice third place finish. You led early tonight. And talk about your night tonight.
Yeah, it was going great. If I could have figured out the bus stop, I really felt like I could have won tonight. But that turn just ate my lunch every time I went through there. So I lost at least a second and a half every time I went through there. But we had an amazing battle for the lead between Christian and Mr. Blackner. And I thought it was a really good, clean race. A lot of hard racing, but it was fun.
Awesome. Christian, we'll come back to you. I know you're new to the league. How did you find out about this league with GoRacing Sim?
Oh, that was funny because I saw a video like 2 weeks ago in a race in Long Beach because I had a race in Automobilista 2 the same week, and I saw just to get some kind of reference of a lap, you know. And yeah, I saw the video. I liked the video, and so. And 2 days later, I was messing around with host races, and there was a lob, I think, in Mount Panorama, and I got in, and I saw the link of the league, and I subscribed to here, so I'm here right now.
Well, awesome, and welcome aboard. We love having you. You're a great driver. You were very fast this week
Thank
and
you.
all that. Michael said you were very, very clean when you were racing Shane, and we love to hear that. Shane, any close calls tonight?
No, just that one time I actually hit the bus stop and I got a time penalty. That's when I fell off from the top two. I felt if I didn't get that penalty, it would have been really close. It would have been a hell of a three-way battle out there at the end.
And Michael, any close incidents for you tonight?
Aside from continually just overdriving the bus stop, just trying to get ahead of them too. No, it was very hard, but it was very clean, very tight racing. It definitely made it feel like the real deal for sure.
All right, real good. We're going to cut it short here, guys. Thanks so much for competing. Our podium tonight, third place, Shane Papala. Second place, Michael Blackner. And our winner tonight, Christian Correa. Thanks, guys. Back to you, Kevin.
Great job, Ken. I think your interviewing skills are getting better every time.
Well, I felt a lot better after this race than I did the week before.
Maybe you should
that had a lot to do with it.
Maybe you should start your interviews off with a dad joke.
Maybe.
Throw them for a loop.
Yep.
Okay, so let's go ahead and quickly talk about the race results. So, as you had mentioned in your interviews, the top three were Christian, Michael Blackner, and Shane. Two of the three pretty consistent in the top three. And the other person that's normally in the top three, Chris, he was in fourth, followed by Michael Fredrickson, who had a very interesting race. A lot of action. None of it really was his fault, but he was in a lot of action. And that's your top five. It was good. Like I said, we had 18 drivers, and that was really great to see. I was the last car on the lead lap, and I finished, what did I finish? Eighth. I finished eighth.
Yep.
And looking at our season standing, before I get to that, just a couple of the bonus points here. So Michael got the pole position, so he received the bonus points for that. Shane got the bonus points for leading the most laps and for the fastest lap. And then myself, Brandon Rutt, and John Timms, and Michael Fredrickson, we all tied for the most positions gained at 8. So there was a 4-way tie for the most positions gained.
That's amazing.
When I set this up as a bonus, I never even thought that would be a possibility. Never even thought about it.
That's amazing. That many people moved up that many positions.
Yeah, exactly. Eight spots. We all moved up 8 spots.
That's awesome, guys.
Yep. So that's your bonus points. There's a couple others out there for leading laps. I think we had 3 different people lead laps. We had Christian, Michael, and Shane. So the top 3 all led laps, and not just one lap, but multiple laps.
Yep.
Shane with the most at 21. Now, also, let's quickly look at our Safe Driver Award. So who's the Safe Driver Award sponsored by, Ken? Let's give him a commercial.
That would be, that's the Animal Hospital, the Appalachian Animal Hospital.
I like how you put a little country slang in your Appalachian. You've been around me too long, Ken.
I have.
But yeah, so there's not been any necessarily movement in terms of who the top 3 are for this. Still, Michael Blackner is leading. I'm second, and Chris is third. But all 3 of us actually, our points went up quite a bit. I think I had the most growth this week with Michael's at 2.13. I'm at 3.13, and Chris is at 3.50. Again, that is your incidents per race. Or average incidents, per race. If we ever do this again, I might look more at the average incidents per lap versus, is it lap? What's the INC? Incidents per corner? What is that, Ken? Do you remember?
INC would be corner.
Anyways,
But it should probably go by lap because
no, INC is incidents. That's not what I'm thinking of. I'm not seeing it.
okay,
I am not
incidents
seeing.
per lap, and I think it should go incidents by lap per lap because just the amount of laps that a person turn. I don't know. That's a
Yeah.
good one. We're gonna have to sit down and think that one through a little bit.
Well, with the IPL, that's what that is. The reason I lost where that was is because that's not actually shown in our standings. That's only really being shown, I think, when you look at it in the actual iRacing. No, here it is. It's incidents per lap.
IPL is in
Yep,
the
it is. I see it.
Sim Racers Hub.
Yep. Nope. I actually see that, and I think Blackner's leading if we were to go by that as well. So it wouldn't change a lot. But yeah, that way, the person who drives more laps doesn't necessarily have a higher chance of getting more incidents, right? Because it's more of an average. So maybe we look at that going forward. But anyways, that's your three.
It gives you the incentive to running more laps. So instead of pulling out after a wreck, and it gives you the incentive to coming back out and finishing the race.
Yep. Good point. Good point. Also, we had the pit stop challenge that we discussed at the first of the podcast. And do you have a guess on who the pit stop challenge winner is, Ken?
Well, Shane is always wicked fast on his pit stops.
Well, I would say he has an advantage there, wouldn't you?
Well, in real life, yes. I'm not sure if it transfers over to iRacing, but he definitely has it in real life. So
Yep.
I would think just off the top of my head, he's been so wicked fast on pit stops. I think it'd have to be him.
Yep. And, I think that's a good guess. And if it was last week, I think he would have gotten it based on what I saw. But that's not the winner. The winner is the person who wins everything in our league, Ken. Michael Blackner.
Really?
With a pit stop of a little bit over 1 minute and 19 seconds. 1 minute 19 seconds, 0.48. So that's your winner.
That's awesome. Good job, Michael Blackner.
I'm wondering, I feel like he either pit a lap early or a lap late. I can't remember.
Lap late.
So
he
would need. Well, no, he needed less fuel.
He needed less fuel, but he barely made it yet too. So, but I was shocked that he couldn't make it a lap longer because a lot of us were. I took mine to the very last lap. I could not go another lap on mine, and I was shocked when somebody else went one more lap than I did.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that felt like the longest pit stop ever, too, didn't it?
Oh gosh, and we didn't even put tires on. If we would have put tires on, oh my God, it would have been an eternity.
I wonder if anybody did put tires on. I didn't even look to see, but I sure as heck didn't.
I don't believe anyone did.
So there's your winner, and Michael, I think, has already received his iRacing credits from the anonymous source. Now, once you win, you're going to know who the anonymous source is because it's going to tell you who sent you the credits. But congratulations, Michael. Well deserved, and that is definitely a challenge that every one of us has an equal opportunity at winning. Wouldn't you say, Ken?
Oh, definitely.
Okay, now let's move on to we've got the good move and the bad luck moment of the race. So, what are your thoughts on the good move, Ken?
Well, a lot of good ones out there. A lot of great side-by-side racing. Hey, I even got to hand it to you on that early one on lap 7 in the bus stop back there, where you went around on the right side and you missed all the carnage. And so I'm going to nominate Kevin Rupert.
Well, thank you, but I think that was more luck than anything. That I just happened to be in the spot they weren't. So I was thinking, make a little twist on this, be a little bit different. I spent a lot of time today watching that replay. And the thing that I appreciated and enjoyed the most was watching that top 3 battle the whole race and to do it so cleanly. And I know we call it the good move, and that insinuates that one person does something good. But I actually think we give it to the podium because it's not that they, were running 1, 2, 3 and big gap between them. They were battling the entire race, and they were doing it cleanly, but racing their asses off. What do you think?
I'd say let's do it. They definitely earned it, to watch that replay and all that. It was impressive. Side by side by a couple of them, a couple laps, and all 3 of them nose to tail. I don't know, what was it? The whole last half or most of the race, they were nose to tail.
Yeah,
It's great racing.
absolutely. So that being that you're the treasurer of the league, do we have enough funds to give it to all three of them?
I believe the funds are there for this season, so yeah, let's give them the same amount as we normally give.
And that would
And
be
what's that again this year?
nothing.
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 Nothing. It is.
Congratulations on your nothing. All right. Bad luck moment of the race. There was a lot of these. I'm not going to go through and recap. I kind of talked about a lot of the incidents that people ran into earlier. I definitely felt bad for Michael Fredrickson because I felt like he was a victim way too many times in this race. But it didn't hurt him too bad in his finish. Maybe he could have gained a spot or two, but he still finished, I think, in the top 5. So, yeah, 5th. So, I'm for that reason, I think I won't give it to him, but he's definitely, I think, somebody that deserves to be mentioned. What do you say, an honorable mention?
Honorable mention, yes.
I hate to do this, Ken, but I think we give the bad luck award to somebody that was a victim of your incident.
I think you're right. I sure screwed up his race and his first race with us, and we've known Richie for a couple of years, and I felt miserable about that when it happened, and I hope he doesn't hold that one against me because I sure screwed it up for him.
Yeah, and it didn't look like much when you watch the replay, but he said that it gave him a meatball. So
Yep.
that not really a fast turn, not really a hard hit, but he must have just hit you just right. So I think we give it to Richie this time, just because again, wasn't his move that caused the issue.
That was my boneheaded move that caused him to lose a possibility of a good finish during last night's race.
Right, and there really wasn't anything he could do either, right?
Nope.
It was kind of, you were there. He come around the turn,
That's
and
right.
There you were. Okay.
Hey, but the good news is, Richie, we will give you something for that. What is it, Kevin? What's in the budget for this year?
Congratulations, Richie. You get nothing.
Yeah, you get nothing. Yeah, just to mention.
Just to mention. Okay, that joke's going to run old at some point. We're going to have to move on. All right, anything else you want to say about the race before we move on to Sebring?
Let's move on because we've been holding these people up long enough.
All right, Ken. So I'll tell you what, I'm really looking forward to you explaining Sebring to us. So go ahead. It's all yours.
All right. I don't even own the track. It's an airport. It's flat. It's rough. It's got a lot of bumps in it. And this is all that I've been hearing from other drivers. I actually know nothing about it. But I am looking forward to it. And yes, we're off this coming week, but we're going at it just a little less than 2 weeks from now, and looking forward to it.
Yep. Good. Thank you for pointing that out. That is right. We are off next week. It is a holiday here in the U.S. Most of our drivers are in the U.S., not all, but it is a holiday on Thursday, so no race next week. Everybody can relax, take it easy if you're in the U.S.
Play Farmer Simulator if you'd like, right?
Yeah, Ken's looking for some buddies. If you want to play Farming Simulator, hit him up. We got our own server. Instead of Go Racing, it's Go Farming. Literally, that's not a lie. That's the truth. Now, anyways, so let me give you a little bit of information about it then, Ken. So Sebring is another track that's, a lot of the tracks we look at, they're in like the 3 mile to 4 mile. This one's 3.7 miles. You're right. I think it is built on a airport runway. At least part of it is. It's interesting. It has some really, really long straightaways, and then it has some technical areas. As a matter of fact, I think one of the most important corners is corner 16, which is called Le Mans Corner. By the way, if you don't use Crew Chief, I highly recommend you at least give it a try, because it does tell you, like, you might be at the 5 turns away, but if somebody spins out at Le Mans Corner, it'll come on and say, so-and-so has spun out at Le Mans Corner. And it helps you learn what the names are too. But anyways, that one I think is kind of important because it leads into one of the longest straightaways. And every time I've raced that track, that's where you see people get a huge run, because you get a big run down. It's almost like, I call it the backstretch, even though it's not really the backstretch, which leads into like a big kind of loop around that's then another long straightaway to the start-finish line. So the momentum that you can get out of that turn can really help you gain some positions. So I think that's one of the more important turns. It's not a complicated turn necessarily, but it is one that, it's kind of like the kink at Road America, where it's not the most complicated, but you've got a lot of speed, and if you just miss it a little bit, it'll screw you up. Number 7, turn 7, the hairpin is also one to be aware of. Turn 7 is the part that's going to concern me going into this race, just like turn 1 did last week. It's the area where people have a tendency to get in too hot and get underneath somebody and spin somebody out. So let's all be careful, practice patience there, don't overdrive it. But that's a challenging turn because it is also at the end of a pretty long straightaway where you're carrying a lot of speed and then you are doing a hairpin turn. So, I mean, it is a sharp, sharp turn, kind of like the hairpin at, what was the road course we did? The city. It was in the city. Ken, come on.
You're talking about Long Beach?
Yeah, thank you very much. It is like Long Beach. But the difference is at Long Beach, you're not carrying a lot of speed going into it. On this one, you're carrying a lot of speed going into that turn. So it's a tricky turn. There's a lot of incidents that can happen there. And then turns 3 through 5, they're not really difficult, but they're a turn where if you mess up at turns 3, it's going to really screw you up going through 4 and 5. It's the flow that kind of happens there. But so you'll see, Ken, when you start practicing this track, it's a track with there's a lot of technical areas, not super technical, but definitely technical, and then some long straightaways. Drafting does play a little bit of a role on some of the straightaways. Nothing like what we saw at Daytona. Nothing like that. But you definitely can get a draft on, especially that straightaway coming out of Le Mans corner. So it's a good track. It's where if that iRacing does the 12-hour race. I guess they do one in real life too, I'm assuming, which I've done a few times with some of the people in the league. It's a fun track. And yeah, you're right. It's rough, and it's flat, and it's on an airport.
Well, I'm going to be looking forward to the Michael Blackner video to learn how to drive that track.
That's right. He didn't do one last week, but I guess he figured everybody already knew Daytona.
Most of us did, yes.
All right. Well, with that, Ken, that is my list of everything to talk about. I wish everybody a good week off. If anybody wants to or would like for me to put something up for everybody to run just for fun, not on Thursday night, but a different night through the week, like a Tuesday night, let me know. I'll be more than happy to put something up. I won't be there because where am I going to be, Ken?
You are going to the city that never sleeps, which is Las Vegas.
Exactly. My home away from home. So I'll be there losing money that I could be putting into the league. But instead, I'm going to be putting it into slot machines and tables.
You could be winning money that could get put into the league also.
That's right.
And that way people wouldn't get nothing.
There we go. Maybe that's the next thing, right? I'm gonna go invest, see what I can do.
There you go.
All right. Well, with that, I thank everybody for listening. I hope we didn't ramble on too long. And say goodbye,
Happy
Ken.
Thanksgiving, everyone.
Say goodbye, Ken.
Goodbye, Ken, and happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Bye.